Welcome to another edition of Dr. James Beckett Sports Card Insights. Today is the Friday before Labor Day. What's so special about Labor Day besides Rich Klein's Adat Havarim card show and other card shows around the country? That's obviously special. But it's a holiday. It's a holiday that is supposed to be a relief from labor and work and to take the day off. In my past, I think for many years, I regarded it as a holiday for others. But this year, I'm so much regarding it as a holiday even for me that I will not have an issue on the Monday coming up. So today's Friday. On Monday, there will not be a podcast in celebration of the fact that I finally now am celebrating the holiday that everybody else was celebrating for so many years. These podcasts have been 5 episodes a week, Monday through Friday. But going forward, I will be taking the holidays off. Again, maybe it's symbolic, but I hope you take holidays off too. So no upset on Labor Day. But I do want to talk about some of the Labor Days that I experienced over the years, especially in the peak years. Labor Day for me was pretty much always working 18 hours a day I would say from 1979 to 1995. I took advantage of Labor Day being a day when everything else stopped for me to really jump in and work extra hard. Generally, I was working on the same thing each year. I was taking advantage of that last long weekend before the fall season got very busy and would be coming down the home stretch for one of the very labor-intensive price guide books, essentially the non-baseball titles, football, basketball, hockey, that had fall seasons. They needed to come out, baseball, the attempt was to have baseball come out right before the baseball season. The same thing with football, basketball, and hockey. I'm really talking about the books, the big thick books, which when I look back, I realize that really paved the way for the magazines. The magazines had monthly deadlines. In fact, with baseball, basketball, football, hockey in that order, there were, if it was a Monday deadline, then the first Monday of the month would be baseball, the second Monday would be football or basketball, then third would be football, and fourth would be hockey. And so the team and I both knew that's what it was. So you could plan ahead. In fact, if you're a student of calendars, you notice that with 52 weeks in a year and 12 months, there are actually there's actually 4 months that have 5 Mondays in them. And so with deadlines on 4 Mondays a month, when there is a 5th Monday in that month, that would be an opportunity to catch up or take a break or whatever. So the Mondays were key days in the original aspect of Beckett Publications. And Labor Day being a first Monday meant it did have a baseball deadline, but more importantly, on Labor Day, it had price guide book duties to do. If you were to take the football book or any of these price guide books from that time, and I'm talking about 1979 up through 95, 96, there was a big change, which was my heart attack. So I probably did do 96. Most of it. In fact, I actually would go up through 96. My heart attack was in October of 96. And so I'm sure, it's hard to say this, but I'm sure that probably contributed. You work enough 18-hour days, you're missing out on your sleep. For me, it was, I wasn't playing golf in those days. So, where I was borrowing from, I tried to be a really good dad, a really good husband. On the other hand, I'm sure I was borrowing from personal time. I was definitely borrowing from recreation time, borrowing from sleeping time. And, that's not a good long-term recipe. So 79 up through, 96, I had a very, very long Labor Day weekend that really allowed me to knock out a lot of work. For those of you who've done really big projects, and if you're a certain mindset, you'll know that there's sometimes when you're working on something really big, you can build up momentum by working straight through without interruption. So I had instructions at the company, don't interrupt me. Of course, at Labor Day, they're out at the lake or doing something else. But I would be working and I could build up a lot of momentum, and I'd get an awful lot done. As those who were there know, I put on my headphones, listen to music, and just jam on the keyboard with the pulling together the research and frankly doing a lot of the data entry to make sure the price guides came out accurately. If you just took one of these price guides and just took a page out of the book and tried to vocalize the card number, the name of the player, and the prices, and just start at the top of the page and do the multiple columns and go down through, and you'll realize after you see how long it takes just to talk through that page, just to sub-vocalize it, and then you multiply by the number of pages in the book, you can see that it was a pretty monumental task. And I'm not saying I didn't have a lot of help. I did. I had a lot of input, but a lot of that in those days came through me in the final entry. It was easier for me to do it than to tell somebody to do it and then proof it. I actually did have an outstanding proofer, which was Rich Klein, who just did a wonderful job. But he wasn't really proofing against something. He was proofing against his understanding to know that something would be a typo if it didn't make sense. He wasn't worried about whether something was 12 cents or 10 cents or 25 cents or 30 cents or even $5 or $6. He was fabulous at catching if it was $50 instead of $5, which could have been a typo where the decimal place was moved just a little bit. So again, we had our system. It worked well for a long time, notwithstanding my heart attack in '96. I'm not complaining. I'm not making excuses. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying that when you have a company and you're the boss and you're the owner and you're the expert, there are trade-offs. And the trade-offs I made mainly were penalizing myself, but I'm sure there were other trade-offs that not everyone always understood. But I did what I thought I needed to do at the time. I'm glad I'm not in that season of life again. I didn't think that would be my season of life forever. But like I said, if I had not done those non-baseball price guide books and established a good following for those with timely pricing, it would have been way more difficult to launch football, basketball, and hockey magazines that came out monthly and were very successful from 89 and 90 in there. It was wonderful. And each of those price guide books, it's not like they were losing money. They were, we had this, amazing situation with, kind of grandfathered in with the Sport Americana, which, then, and a publishing deal with Random House. So at our peak, we had 2 or 3 sizes of each book and different price points and different distributions, where we had hobby shops covered very well as bookstores, and really with Random House, every place where books were sold. So again, it made a lot of sense business-wise, but it was very taxing. So I'm saying, listeners, don't do as I did, but do as I do now and take time off on Labor Day. If you're interested in feedback for this episode or any of them, there's a couple of ways you can do that. First of all, I want to make sure you know how to get the podcast. If you're listening to this, it may have been just passed on to you with a link, but BeckettInsights.podbean.com is a website where you can find them, or you can go to Stitcher or Apple Podcasts or Downcast, Overcast, Google Play, all these different places where you can subscribe to podcasts. Obviously, I recommend you subscribe, then you'll have the new episodes delivered. I fully realize that episodes that I'm doing have different audience, and not every episode is for everybody. You don't have to take them in order. You can skip an episode that doesn't sound as interesting. There's something for veteran collectors. There's something for brand new collectors, and everything in between. So hopefully they're titled and described in a way that you can know that it's truth in packaging, that I'm talking about what I say I'm going to talk about. I've got some fabulous guests. I've had guests. I'll have more guests. As far as mail, I've had a question about if somebody wanted to mail something, physical mail. I've got a mail address for that. It's 5600 West Lovers Lane, Suite 116-301, and that's Dallas, Texas 75209. And then email, which I have gotten some nice emails. And again, I love substantive emails. I don't like it if you say I don't like it or I do like it. I like specifics. So if you say I'd like to see more of this or less of this, that's very helpful. But that email address is drjamesbeckett@gmail.com. That's DOCTOR James Beckett at Gmail. So those are ways to get in touch with me and to stay connected to what the podcast is doing. I want to thank my sponsors and give you a little recap on that. Beckett Media, again, I try to give them shout outs. They're obviously I have a soft spot for a company that I used to own, but they've got their own things going, a lot of great things going with Beckett Media, with the online price guide, which I mention a lot, and Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, all the Beckett Media entities. ComC, I mentioned I'm a fan because I'm a user. Burbank Sports Cards and Mike Stadium Sports Cards, I've had some episodes speaking directly to them, a couple of sharp guys with great but different concepts for being excellent in their stores. Heritage and Huggins and Scott, I've done some auction catalog reviews, but I will be having interviews with those principals and perhaps some on their team going forward, perhaps later in September, as well as Panini, Topps, and Upper Deck. Panini is easy because they're here, but I'm trying to keep them kind of in some kind of sync. And I think I'm going to have to be connecting with Topps and Upper Deck mostly over the phone, and I do plan to do that in September, so I can let you know what those great companies are doing. So that's what we have to look forward to. You don't have Monday, Labor Day, an episode to look forward to. So take a break. You can still enjoy the hobby. You can still go to Rich's show or a show in your area. It's a wonderful weekend to celebrate the hard work that you do otherwise, and to take a break on the day is something that I'm doing now. Again, not bragging, not complaining, not making excuses. I wouldn't do it different, but I'm glad that I have a pace of life now, and I'm very blessed to have a pace of life where I can smell the roses. And the previous efforts of hard work have, I hope they pay off for you as they did for me. So again, thanks for listening, and I will see you not on Monday, but on Tuesday with another episode. Thanks again.